From the arena to the front office, this is Scoreboard. I'm Chris Titley, and each episode brings you stories from the game of sport, where mindset, money, and meaning shape what comes next. Athletes, coaches, owners, and business leaders unpack the moments that matter, because the scoreboard isn't just about winning, it's about life beyond the game. This episode is powered by Swyftx, Australia's top-rated crypto exchange and proudly homegrown, just like many of the athletes and business leaders we feature on Scoreboard. Now let's get to today's episode.
Hi, it's Chris Titley here, and on today's episode of Scoreboard, I'm joined by Anna Pixner. Anna, thank you so much for being part of this series.
Thank you for having me.
We're sitting here on Monday, the 14th of July at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. How's your Monday been so far, Anna?
I had a pretty good Monday. We had very good waves here in freshwater, right in front of the house. So I went surfing in the morning, and then I went to the gym. And then I just spent some time replying emails. But it was a pretty good day.
Yeah. Now, for the listeners out there that don't know Anna Pixner, how would you describe yourself?
I guess I'm like a very energetic person. I love to be outdoors most of my time and have a hard time sitting on a chair for the whole day.
Yeah, well, there you go. And then from a sport point of view, downhill skateboarding. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's like quite a unknown sport, I would say. I mean, skateboarding, like street and park, it's Olympic now, so it became way more popular in the last few years. But downhill, it's still not an Olympic discipline. And we are quite a small community of people still worldwide that do that. It's quite crazy, I would say, because we go really fast on skateboards. It's not like a regular skateboard. We have a bit like different trucks and boards and wheels, but basically it's still a skateboard.
Yeah, and then do you want to give the listeners a bit of an understanding about how fast you go?
Well, on races, we go like between 90 and 100 kilometers per hour. Can go pretty quick. And for training, I usually don't go that fast because we often have to practice on open roads with traffic. So we go with walkie-talkies and we go, maybe like 70, 80 kilometers per hour.
Wow. Okay. And now you're based in Australia now, but you're from Austria. People sort of get a little bit confused, like the old Dumb and Dumber movie, like you're from Austria. And Australia.
Yeah, it's pretty confusing for people. Yeah. Mostly they just think that I'm from Australia or the other way around.
You are from Austria. Do you want to talk about your, I suppose the introduction to the sport and or skateboarding and or other things that maybe as a youth you thought, this is pretty fun?
Yeah, I guess like I grew up in Innsbruck in Austria, which is quite known as an like extreme sports city because it's in the center of the Alps. So a lot of people move there for like snowboarding, paragliding, climbing, or like downhill mountain biking. And already as a kid, I was always surrounded by people doing a lot of extreme stuff. So I'm pretty sure that had an influence on me. And I started skating on a longboard because I was too shy to go to a skate park. So I thought like on a longboard, I can just go to the bike path and kind of practice in peace. And then I just kind of got into that. Like behind my house, there was quite a steep road. And at some point I just tried rolling down it. And I met someone who was already doing races that time. That was about 12 years ago. And that time there was like almost no women doing downhill skating. So he was really encouraging me to like come to the races and join the race, even if I was the only woman, or like it was kind of just the beginning of having female downhill skaters. So I started getting sponsors pretty quickly because it kind of attract attention. They were like, oh, okay, a woman can do that too. And yeah, then I started traveling a lot, competing internationally, and now I landed in Australia, where I don't have a real winter with snow anymore.
No. And then the competitions per se. Do you want to talk about some of the results that you've had?
Yeah, so there's two different kinds of downhill skating, if you can say that. Like there's speed and free ride. So we have the Speed World Championship Tour that it's usually one stop in each continent. And in those races, it's just about going as fast as possible. So everyone's like wearing leather suits and trying to be as aerodynamic as they can. And then there's another World Championship for free ride, which is more that style of riding that you're not using your hands for sliding. I don't know if you've watched many videos.
I watched a few videos as part
But
of
like
my
it's
research.
more like a power slide that also skateboarders do, and it's a little bit more tricky for keeping the balance. So there's a special world championship for racing without using the hands, and that's just one race every year. And I'm like kind of competing in both, but free riding is more my thing. And there I won the world championship 2 times. And in the speed world tour, I'm usually like in the top 10. At the moment, I'm on 7th place and trying to improve my skills a little in that. So hopefully someday I also get a world title.
Yeah, so dual world champion in the sport that you only picked up about 12 years ago, and something that no one can take away from you. How does it kind of make you feel that there's no one better than you at the moment?
I don't know, because I think the world championships, it's always also a matter of who has the possibilities to even be there.
Yep.
And I think there are some pretty good riders I know there's one from the Philippines and like from South America. I think they don't get to travel as much to international competitions. So it's hard to say that I would see myself as the best. I think I'm always like staying more humble in that. And yeah, I just try to do my best in the moment. But it would be amazing if, we get the sport to a level that all the riders have like similar opportunities and we get way more women to join the races as well. I think then it would be even more interesting.
Yeah, no, for sure. Anna, you said about the moment, about enjoying it, etc. Like, you're going pretty fast. There's a fair bit of adrenaline going through your body. What are you thinking about?
Well, basically, in the moment, I don't have any thoughts in my head. That's why I find it almost like it's a little bit like a meditation for me, because it's a very easy way to turn off whatever's going on in your mind, because you have to be so focused in that moment. You can kind of compare it to like riding a motorcycle really fast, that you pretty much just look ahead and you think about the next corner that's coming up and like where you're going to slow down. And yeah, I think that's what got me really hooked as well, this like hyper focused state that I never actually saw myself as someone who loves taking risks. And I think, starting a sport like that made me realize that you don't have to be that kind of person, that it's actually quite good to have some respect for dangerous things, and just like be able to bring yourself to the present moment and calm yourself down as well as possible. Like mostly before the run, I get pretty nervous, or I think everyone gets pretty nervous. And I think that's the most important moment, that you have to be mentally like really here and just focus on positive thoughts. Like you kind of just have to think that you're going to do it.
I'd imagine when you get nervous, and this has happened to me a couple of times, that you start to, I mean, not necessarily shake, but some of the body parts are moving a bit. Maybe your toes are twinkling a little bit, or you've got a few butterflies in your stomach, or you're a bit twitchy. I'm curious to know, those sudden movements or I suppose prompted movements by the nervousness, they can make a huge impact on and cause severe damage. And I suppose your sport is dangerous, broadly speaking, from an outsider's point of view. How do you go with managing that, I suppose, and then also to the point where maybe there's a point, and has been a point in your career, where you have potentially lost control and thought this is not good?
Yeah, I kind of like really try to focus on positive thoughts and not think about that option of crashing. Before, like at the start, it's quite important that you tell yourself like, I'm gonna do this well. And I also usually do some breathing exercises, just like to bring my breath back to normal and and like kind of calm down the nervous system a little bit. Like for that, I generally practice quite a lot of meditation and breath work, and I think it's helped me a lot doing that more on a regular basis. That you can also in the moment just recall it and remind yourself of like how you can stay calm. But a lot of times it's really just like the moment before you start riding, and then once I start riding, I'm kind of trusting my skills and I don't really have any doubts. I think like having doubts while you're riding is a very dangerous thing. So I tried like from the very beginning to not not get anything negative in my mind while I'm riding.
I'm also, curious to know about leading up to going about 90 to 100 kilometres an hour. And you talked about meditation, you talked about easing nerves and breath work, etc. The night before, do you get a bit nervous as well?
Yeah, I definitely get nervous like before races, because in a race it's even more dangerous usually, because you ride like with 3 other people super close together, and it's just more likely that someone makes a mistake and you actually crash at that high speed. And the night before, I usually just try to take a little bit more time to do yoga and stretch and do something relaxed.
Yeah, do you, when it comes to danger and fear, how's your relationship with fear?
I would say that I still get scared a lot. And sometimes it's even weird, like seeing myself in those videos, like doing all these crazy things, that, I definitely have moments where I just think like, oh my God, I'm super scared to do this. I don't know if I could do it again. But then I get back on the board and it kind of just works, because it's a lot about self-trust, I think. And the more you practice, the less it feels dangerous, because it's almost like when you're riding a bike, you're also just pushing the brakes whenever you want. And in downhill skating, it's just, about really getting your skills to that level that you feel like you can stop at any time. And that's what makes it a lot less dangerous, because after all, you're going fast, but it feels controlled. And I think that's what really helped me to push over my fear, like over the years, to kind of realize step by step, like, oh, I can still stop at that speed. I can try to go a little bit faster, and then you just kind of start to push your comfort zone. So I'm mostly skating in my comfort zone, which doesn't look very comfortable for anyone outside. But yeah, it's a lot about practice and doing that over a long period of time.
I'm curious to know how you stop.
So basically, it's like the friction of the wheels on the pavement. So you have to push the board sideways. And yeah, we call it a slide. So you just like get the wheels to slide and then you lose speed. So at races, we're using like very big wheels with a lot of grip, that they are hard to slide, but they make you slow down pretty quick. So the faster I go, the more grippy are my wheels. And then, yeah, you have to know a little bit about equipment too, to make it safe, like on any road, because it depends like on the temperature, on the quality of the pavement and all that. And we usually like drive up the road and check first how are the conditions. And then I decide what wheels I'm using, and then I kind of know how long is my way to stop.
How much science is behind it in terms of angles? And, you talked about the weather and the overlay of the conditions and the movements, etc., and the microscopic part of it. Are you a bit of a maths nerd when it comes to geometry and angles, etc.?
Yeah, I guess you have to be a bit of a nerd with the equipment, like especially when it comes to the world championship level, that you're really trying to push the limits, because it's still quite a new sport and it's evolving a lot, like every year. So to be in the top of the world, you kind of have to be experimenting with new equipment. And most of the riders, like also me, I'm kind of working together with my sponsors, that they send me equipment and then you give feedback and you kind of try to always make the technique a little bit better, especially in the trucks, like trying to get more stability and see if you can go even faster. So it's a little bit of a trial and error sometimes too, and you just have to see what works. Yeah, I kind
How
of
are you? Sorry,
I like
keep
that
going.
to really like experiment and ride different setups.
And then, in regards to trying to get more participation in the sport, which you're probably an advocate for, even though from the outside it sounds dangerous, etc. But obviously, there's a pool of people that may want to participate. What are you doing from an advocacy and education point of view, to get more females in the sport and potentially, some content around that?
I mean, I do a lot of workshops, especially for women, but they are more beginner focused. I think that like I'm more focused on teaching people like the basics of skating, because I think then at least that's how it was for me. I learned how to feel comfortable on the board and like skate from A to B and just like use the board a lot in daily life. And then I think it's up to the person. Some people, they never want to do anything like that. But some people from that point, they get the idea to maybe push it a little bit further. And yeah, I think it always starts with the basics. Like if you feel comfortable using your board in all kinds of different conditions, then it's a good place to start. And yeah, I'm definitely trying to get more women involved, because I think you don't have to be that kind of, how do you say, like very careless person to do an extreme sport. And I think especially for women that have some sort of self-doubt or they are very careful, it's a really interesting thing to do because you're confronting yourself every day with your own fear, and you kind of learn all these lessons that feeling fear doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna stay there. I think it's like a really nice thing to go through, that you feel scared and then you kind of push through it, and then in the end you manage to feel comfortable with that fear. I think that's mostly what I'm passionate about, like sharing with others, because it has helped me a lot in my regular life too. It's something, I think, if you experience that in a sport, you can really translate it to other situations in life. And I think just, yeah, over all these years traveling and meeting a lot of women from different cultures and places, I just see that even more in women than in men, that they often have self-doubts and they don't even like want to try the things because they feel like they might not be good enough, or that there's already a lot of doubt before. And yeah, I think I just want to encourage people to have the experience and see, like, yeah, get to know yourself, how you're dealing with fear.
When it comes to extreme sports, what's like a stereotype that you'd like to sort of break over time in regards to how people consume extreme sports and also how people participate in extreme sports?
Well, I think there has been a change already, but there's still way more media showing men doing extreme sports. And yeah, when I started like creating more media with all that, that was definitely one of my goals as well, to just represent that, yeah, you can be a kind of shy girl and end up doing something like this. And yeah, what other stereotypes? I think just it is, all the extreme sports are not a very inviting place to start for beginners. And yeah, I think it's just important to share with the rest of the world.
Storytelling. That's part of the reason why we do Scoreboard here, is to share stories from all sorts of different sports and backgrounds and help people educate and understand what goes through a high performance mindset, and also understand what goes through people's brains about how to get there and what success looks like in the future, which I'll get onto. Anna, in terms of yourself and the sport, what's Nirvana for you? You know, going out a couple of years, and where would you like to be, and where would you like to see the sport?
Well, I think the first thing that would be amazing is if they would also make downhill skateboarding an Olympic discipline, especially now, like skateboarding overall, it's Olympic. And I think that our sport has like a pretty big potential, because in the end it's a race, and races are pretty exciting to watch. Like you can see exactly like the time difference, and now they have way better ways to record it with FPV drones and kind of like capturing for the viewer to get a sort of similar feeling of what we get. So I think that it's on a pretty good way. The sport is not big enough. I think that's what's missing, because they are discussing having downhill skateboarding in the Olympics since like 5 years already. Like I remember there was some sort of film team from the Olympic channel in one of the races, and yeah, for all the downhill skaters, it's like a never-ending process that we are waiting and waiting for it to happen. Because I think that's yeah, that's just elevating the sport to a different level because you get more funding and it's just like way more serious overall. So that would be the most amazing thing.
Yeah, so the most amazing thing would be to have it as an Olympic sport, for you to compete in the Olympics and you to win a gold medal, yeah?
Yeah, pretty much.
And before that journey, the importance of storytelling, the importance of social media, the importance of broadcast and broadcast rights and people seeing what goes on, where do you see that? And I suppose who's helping and what's going on under the scenes for people to potentially go, whoa, what's that? Oh, watch that.
Yeah, actually, in the last few years, there has like happened a lot with that. I think especially because of social media, that really helped riders to, yeah, just share what they're doing in an easier way, and more people start to look at that. So brands kind of start to get involved, and then people start to get sponsors. And yeah, I think social media was kind of the first thing that pushed the whole thing. And also in the races, now they are paying way more attention to the live stream and to the like documenting the whole thing in general. Because when I started, for example, that was not even a thing. Like there was always a photographer, but they wouldn't record everything live, or if they tried, it looked very boring because it was just a camera, like a static camera in the corner. So now that's definitely already stepped up. But I think you can always do better. And I think like we just need to work together as a team in the end, like all the riders that are riding at this level. It's just pretty important that all of us document what we're doing, and we're sharing it, and we're like talking about it, and yeah, filming, competing. I think that's also the main reason why I am competing, because I think competitions help to push the sport, and the more participants there are, yeah, the more it's gonna grow.
Well, here's your opportunity to shout out for some of your sponsors. And obviously sponsors play a big role in extreme sports, and obviously sponsoring at an individual level, but also at a competition level. Who are some of the sponsors that have helped you so far?
TSG, it's like my protection sponsor. They have helped me a lot. Anyways, it's like amazing to get a new helmet every year because I definitely crash once in a while. And yeah, they are supporting me since a couple of years already. And Paul Peralta is giving me wheels since, yeah, 4 or 5 years or so. And Valkyrie is giving me trucks, which are pretty amazing trucks. So I'm like pretty sorted with all the equipment. I just started riding for Sector 9. I don't know if you know, it's like a Californian brand. And yeah, I'm working on a pro model with them. So that's pretty exciting to be able to design a board and see like how can I improve the equipment, and yeah, test all that and give feedback. And it's a nice process.
I'm interested to know what the board's name's going to be called. Is it going to be the Pixner or the Anna or the AP?
Actually, I don't know.
What would you call it? What would be an ultimate board name if you had to create one yourself? Is there a nickname or something that you think is really relevant to the sport? Like, I don't know, No Fear or something pretty basic, or Adrenaline or Pure Adrenaline or something.
I will have a think about it.
Yeah. Well, sponsors play a very strong role, obviously, in your sport. They also play a role in our podcast, and we thank Swyftx, a Brisbane-based platform for cryptocurrency. They've got over 1.1 million users in Australia and New Zealand, and their recent catchphrase is "Where will crypto take you?" Which leads me into the next segment, which is the bucket list, which is a question I ask my guests around the ultimate sporting event that that they'd love to attend to. And this segment is powered by our sponsors at Swyftx. Anna, I'm curious to know what your bucket list sporting event is.
I think on top of my bucket list, it's to actually one time do all the stops of the world tour, because I do have amazing sponsors, but they're not really paying me well. So I never had the opportunity to join all of the World Cup races. And since it's a point system, it would just be really interesting to see where I could get if I'm actually joining all of them. So yeah, that's like pretty much my goal for the next year, to make that happen. And in downhill skateboarding, there's not that many different sorts of events yet. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
That's the bucket list. And the other question I ask is the scoreboard moment, which is a moment in your life which is pretty vivid. And it feels like yesterday. It could be yesterday, but it feels like yesterday. And from that moment on, things changed.
I think that moment was during COVID when I was living in Portugal, and yeah, none of us really had a job or something proper to do because everything was stopped. And a friend of mine was a filmmaker normally, and then he just said, oh, he's gonna film everyone skating. And yeah, I still remember that first time that I did a run with a good camera, that we mostly film in a way that we mount the camera to the front of the car, and then the car has to follow the rider as close as possible. So it's pretty scary for you as a rider. And yeah, that first time that I tried that, I think something clicked that I realized I could kind of push myself even more. And I think I realized I can do more than I trust myself. And the filming, it really helped for that, just to see footage on a good camera of myself skating. I was like, oh wow, actually this looks pretty crazy. And I think that was just a moment that, yeah, I realized that I'm kind of underestimating myself and I need to believe that it's gonna happen. And from that moment, I also like started to get sponsors and I started competing more. And yeah, I think it's really a big mindset thing in sports, that you have to make a decision and say, I'm really going for this. And you have to stay super positive about it all the time, that it's going to work out, especially in a sport that nobody really knows, because you can't really reach out to like the biggest brands that are sponsoring, like, yeah, in surfing, in skating, that they pay proper budgets. Like in downhill skateboarding, it was more like you're happy if you have a sponsor that pays your registration fee. And I think, yeah, that's why it's even more of a mental challenge, because you have to be quite creative and find different ways to make it work, and just always stay on it. And be positive that the sport is going to grow and we are going to make it grow as riders.
That's very inspiring scoreboard moments, and the shift in terms of the mindset, as you mentioned as well. So thank you for sharing that. I am going to ask you a few questions about yourself and have a little bit of fun, and if you don't mind, I'm going to say a few things and you're going to have to sort of answer one or the other. So the first question I'm going to ask is, do you understand or have you watched an Australian Football League game, an AFL game?
I actually don't understand that much about it, no.
There you go. Thought I might know the answer to that one. The next one, if you had to live without one or the other, what would it be? Netflix or Spotify?
Netflix. I
You're a
don't really
Spotify
watch
person?
TV a lot,
Yeah.
but I love listening to music.
Not a TV person?
No, I think that's why I'm good at skating, because I never had a TV.
There you go. Sitting outside.
Have to find something else to do.
If you had to visit one of the following cities, which one would it be? New York or Paris?
I say New York because I've been to Paris.
Would you prefer to go with your friends for a long lunch or a long run?
A long run.
Long run. There you go. If you had to or consider investing in the following, shares or cryptocurrency?
Crypto.
Yeah, crypto. Interesting. Have you watched crypto from afar a little bit?
Yeah, actually, like during COVID also, I had a friend who was really into trading with crypto, and he gave me the advice to buy some crypto. I mean, I was really broke at that time, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna spend my only money and buy some crypto. I just fully trusted what he said, and it was totally right. So now I'm quite positive about that, and I still believe that it's a good investment if you have crypto.
Did you sell or did you hold on?
I sold like some of it just in the beginning of this year, actually, because yeah, I had to go to some races and stuff, and yeah, didn't work out that well with the sponsorships. I'm still trying to hold on to it as much as I can.
Excellent. And then, how long could you go without a mobile phone?
Oh, I mean, I guess like a week.
A week? Jeez, decent. You reckon you can do a week?
I think it depends on the place, but for sure,
Interesting. Okay.
if I could just skate and surf and be in the nature, I wouldn't mind to not have a phone.
Oh, yeah, there you go. We should all probably try that. Energy drink or soft drink?
I would say soft drink because I go pretty crazy if I get more caffeine.
Not a coffee drinker?
I do like drinking coffee, yeah, but I think energy drinks, they like go to a different level.
Okay. And one final question I've got. Favorite destination to travel to?
Probably Portugal.
Oh, you mentioned you were there during COVID, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, and I still love that country. It has like very beautiful mountains and a really nice coastline. The ocean there is pretty wild.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Now, one final question for the 15-year-old out there living in 2025 that is looking at extreme sports and going, interesting. What's some advice you want to give to them out there that potentially they want to be a bit like you or be their own thing or be professional or do what it takes to become a world champion like yourself? What's some advice you want to give them?
I think my main advice would be to do it out of passion. Like if you're really, really passionate about your sport, I think you can always find a way to make it work. And I think you just have to keep doing the things that remind you about how much you love what you're doing. Because especially once it goes to competing internationally and like having sponsors involved and all that, there's definitely some pressure. And I think the pressure can be something that makes you doubt sometimes, because then you stop having that much fun and it feels more like a job. I think probably in every sport, it's like that if you try to turn it into your profession, it can happen that, it also feels like a profession. And I think the most important thing is just to keep doing the things that you have a lot of fun and trust yourself.
Anna Pixner, thank you so much for being on Scoreboard, the podcast today, and sharing your story as a world champion downhill skateboarder. Double world champion, and I wish you all the best moving forward. I also wish you all the best with potentially creating your own board, which would be pretty cool, and naming it. And I wish you all the best with the sport in general, in potentially becoming an Olympic sport. And I hope to chat to you at some point in time when you are in the Olympics and going for that gold medal. And looking forward to following your progress. Thanks for being on Scoreboard, and looking forward to supporting and catching up where I can.
Thank you very much.